Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member, upgrade for free at AAA.com/commanders. Hey, babies. What's up? Hey, babies. What's up? Happy almost New Year, everybody. This is to be upfront, this last show of the year. So no needling down. Chris Rodriguez, Bill, what's going on the defense? Let's do the year in sports, Callow. Let's have our fun. What did we remember about 2025? What should we forget about 2025? Let's do it. It's the 2025 year in sports, our style. And I'm going to start with this because it's my favorite thing. The Commanders won 2 road playoff games, which is probably my favorite thing that happened. And unfortunately, it happened in January because the rest of the year seemed to, not entirely. There's a couple of really landmark crazy moments, and obviously you know what they are. But that's how the year started. It really ended. 2024 ended with, can't believe this happened. 2025 started with, oh my God, we're almost going to the Super Bowl, and turned into, how good are we going to be from here? Do we have football Jesus playing quarterback? It was really bonkers, and I will never forget that Detroit game. That was amazing.
It's funny you start off this way because I started my show off yesterday like Andy Pullen and said, a year ago today, what were we doing? It was a year ago yesterday. They won the division again, or they won their playoff or clinched their playoff berth against the Falcons out in Landover. So yes, a year later, yes, those are two of the biggest moments for sure. I would say my favorite moments absolutely were the Tampa and Detroit games last year. So fun. And as a fan, by the way, that did not get to see the Super Bowls, that was about as close as it gets for the football team for me, for the success to come. It was a blast.
I think my favorite part of the Detroit game was how confident they were going in, like their fans, everybody.
Media.
When I'm in the stadium for the games, you can get a feel of how the crowd is feeling about it. And in high leverage games, you can really get a feel. Regular games, a regular game, but the high leverage games, you can really get a feel of the crowd. And there was not a single person in there that not only didn't think Detroit was going to win, but was going to win huge. And this is like one of the few times where I was so confident. I walked up and I'm like, I even told London and Logan, I go, we're going to score 40 plus on these dudes. I'm like, they have no defense. If they win, they're going to outscore us. It's the only way they're going to beat us. And when that pick 6 happened, I nearly jumped out of the booth. That's when I knew we're going to win. When they got that pick 6, I go, oh, we're going to win. I was like, 2 turnovers. We're going to beat them, no doubt. And that was maybe one of the most thrilling experiences of my life. That one, winning there, having this feeling that we're going to beat them, knocking off a 1 seed, shutting a stadium down that was so uber confident that they were going to win anyway. That was truly amazing.
I mean, that one was also fun to relive on the quarterback show when they were following Jared Goff around. You got a nice little recap of it, in the summer when that show launched. I'll even go a week earlier though. Tampa game for me was special because I got to go to that one. It was the first time I got to see a playoff victory for this team in my lifetime in person. So even that one, being the first playoff win that they had since 2005 was ridiculous. So to knock 2 road wins off the list, off of what this franchise had done the last 20 years, it was an incredible little run there. And hopefully they get back to that sooner rather than later, that wasn't a fluke.
And from the winning changes everything file came the moment that I did not think would happen in my lifetime. The RFK bill passed. And so we get the hallowed ground back. They're going to get a new stadium there. I'm actually hoping in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see renderings of it finally, or at least like the initial renderings of what we expect to be built there. Shovels probably in the ground at some point in 2026. The goal is to have it done up ready 2030. The then goal would be to host the Women's World Cup, maybe final, but like something in that stadium in 2031. The Commanders start playing there in 2030. Super Bowl coming probably a year or 2 after that. And I just God, we talked about this. How many years did we talk about this? Red tape, bad relationship between ownership and the city. The federal government wants nothing to do with doing it anyway. And so I never thought this would happen. And here we are. So that was remarkable of 2025 that they get their sacred home back. It's really, truly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, how many shows did you and I do talking about the Dumfries Commanders, that they were not only not at RFK, but going somewhere that was over an hour south of where the city center is. The
I
fact
spent a
that they
couple shows on Zillow, like looking up housing prices, because I'm like, well, I can't live up here if they're going to play down there. Like, if they're practicing down there every day, how can I live up here?
what was it? It was Dumfries, Dulles, and Woodbridge. Those were the 3 sites. Yeah,
Yeah.
where it was just like, great, this is what we're working with. And they somehow do end up with RFK. I'd say honorable mention too that we're getting a draft as well. That
Yep.
being tossed in there too. That all of a sudden, because of the ownership change here, a team in a top 10 market is getting top 10 market type things that come along with that. That was massive. And I would say just on top of that too, have you seen what RFK looks like these days? It's crazy how down to the studs the thing has gotten at this point in terms of the actual building is pretty much gone at this point. I actually drove by it on Christmas Day. You can actually see straight through at the monument when you're going down. So it's actually pretty crazy on that front. The
If we
literal
had good
building front.
investigative journalism, somebody would find out where the raccoons have gone because they had to go somewhere.
I'm gonna go with that. They don't exist anymore.
No, they got blown up.
I mean,
Or do they have some new home near the wharf that we don't know about? Like, where are they? Where did the gang of raccoons go? All right. The other one, of course, for us locally that was the thing was Ovi. Ovi breaks Gretzky's scoring record, does the slide in New York after doing it. I think like it was only a matter of time considering at his age. Well, I think last year at the end of 2024, he broke his leg. So I didn't think he would get there by the end of it, just because how healthy was he going to be? And I thought he was going to have to play one more year this year to actually get it. But then he got red hot again and did it right at the end of the season. And honestly, like I don't think we're ever going to have it as good with that team when they were in his prime. Like, this is one of those things. It's like, the Patriots are really good right now. So I guess there's always kind of hope that like it will come back, but I can't imagine it'll ever be as good for a prolonged period of time as when they had Brady. And it's not a fear. It's just, I think, a reality of, are we ever going to have it as good when he was great? And that was really, truly remarkable to see that happen for him.
I think it's akin to Michael Jordan. Bulls fans know they're never going to have another Michael Jordan. Capitals fans need to, come to grips with you're not getting another all-time goal scorer ever in this franchise's history.
A couple teams have done it. Like the Lakers have done it over and over, where they get these all-time greats that play for them. Magic played for them. Kobe played for them. Shaq played for them. LeBron played for them. Like I guess they've been a magnet to it, but the Bulls have not. The Bulls have had an all-time legend, haven't been able to get another one of those. Some of the other ones have been skipping around through the NBA right now. Like they're not staying in one place. That's a different world that we're living in. But I guess in hockey, I don't know. Like, are we ever going to get something like him again? Probably not. We'd have to be lucky as hell to get something like him ever again to play in this uniform for that long.
I mean, you think about the Bulls too. They had Derrick Rose for a time. I think Derrick Rose for a little bit was looking like he could be that, but at the same time, he gets hurt. That's what happens, in sports. And I think you look at hockey as well. I think it's getting ridiculous when you really think about it. Ovi and Crosby saved the league, and they're still going. And I think the next generation hasn't even really touched who they are. Like Nathan McKinnon is really good with Colorado. He's not either of those guys. Austin Matthews is really good and plays for the most popular team. If you really want to talk about fan bases, plays for the most popular team. Does not touch who both of those guys are. Connor McDavid is really good, but still is not the type of player that Crosby or Ovechkin is the best player in the world, but does not kind of touch their superstardom. So that's the other side here too, is Ovechkin not only has been that good for that long, also had a foil in Sidney Crosby, and plays for a franchise that, frankly, he's the outlier. Like the Capitals, for the most part, have not been that franchise that has these star type players. Have been very good at times, but doesn't have that superstar type player. I don't think we're ever going to see it again here locally. As far as it goes for the goal record, maybe it'll change at some point. Next year the NHL does expand its schedule for 2 more games. They're going to go to 82. They're going to go to 84 from 82 games. Does that really help people catch these records. Maybe, I mean, it's 2 games. What are you going to do? But really what needs to happen is people need to stay healthy. And I don't think that's like the craziest thing in the world with modern age stuff for it to happen, but you need someone to be consistent. And that's the hardest part about all of this.
I guess, well, that would make a difference for the outlier who you got to play 15 to 20 years to catch this goal record. But over 15 years, that would be 30 extra games and potentially 30 more goals if they like, but that's not even really on the pace. It'd be like a 20 more.
Yeah.
So it'd be an outlier for sure. It'd be an outlier. And then, you know, I think my favorite part of the record was like everybody, especially the hockey, like that were, you know, all the historians were like trying to figure out a way to explain how Gretzky's still was better. And I'm sitting there going like, every time you show me highlights of when he was playing, the goaltender was wearing pads that might as well not have been pads. They looked unathletic and frankly might as well have been smoking on the ice at the time while they were playing. I'm like, it's not even the same game. So like, I don't want to even hear it that like, yeah, no one is claiming that Wayne Gretzky probably isn't the greatest scorer of all time, but the record belongs to Ovi. I don't want to hear any asterisk to it at all. And mainly because he played at a time where it would have been hard for anybody to score that many goals compared to when Gretzky played, no offense.
The other thing, too, is like he lost so much to just time in general. He had to deal with 2 lockouts over the course of his career, dealt with a COVID shortened season, then dealt with a COVID shortened season on the other side of that one as well. You talk about a guy that like actually lost some games there too, where he should have had more goals heading into last season because of some, you know, crazy circumstances. He's just ridiculous. I always say he's the greatest DC athlete of all time. It's not close, honestly, with pure individual achievements. And for him, for all of it to culminate last year when, you know, or this last year where he broke his leg going into 2025 and looked completely fine after that. It was such an Ovechkin type, you know, record for it to happen that way. And like the guy is just so humble. The guy didn't want any credit. He thanked all of his teammates at the same time. He's always been a great guy, always been an ambassador of the game. And as I said, you know, it's never going to be better than it is with Ovechkin, and that's where we're at this point.
Yeah. The other one locally for me for 2025 that I'll just never forget is Kevin Willard had a side piece during the NCAAs, and like it became abundantly clear that he could not be honest about what his future intentions were. And I don't blame the media for asking him what he was going to do. He answered the questions incorrectly. He never just said, we'll discuss my future at a later date, which I guess would have opened the door. Instead, he got insolent, acted weird, went crazy. It was so obvious he was leaving. And then he was lying about it. And then eventually he did just go to Villanova. And there's a big part of me that was just kind of like, I actually don't care. Go ahead, buddy. Like I don't need this around the program. If this is how it is and you're just pining to be somewhere else, go ahead, go somewhere else. But why you would get in the way of what could be a Final Four run with a team with a lottery pick player on it, I'll never, ever, ever, even for you, for all of us, man, for all of us who like this team, who like this program, for you as a coach, why wouldn't you handle this differently? And I'll never forget it. This guy, and so I was like, good riddance by the end of it. Like, this is the way you've acted is idiotic. It's not a leader. Go ahead, go be someone else's problem.
Yeah, that was its own can of worms. And you also look at how good Queen has been in the NBA already this year in his rookie season. And you're like, that's what you guys had. And you couldn't get any further than you did at that point. Just a terrible run of luck for Maryland that actually had a team that should have competed and gotten deep into the tournament. And instead their coach goes, nah, I'm good. I want to mess with the team up 95 there. That's Maryland's luck in a nutshell, and in this, in these 2000s era for them at this point.
Yeah, and they're like 6-6 or 7-6 or something like that because they had to go. I didn't want them to. I mean, no offense to Buzz. Buzz is a very good coach. The Buzz is a well-renowned, very good coach. But I actually wanted them to take one on the chin. I know the portal thing is scary, and go find the right person who is attached to the program, who actually wants to be here for a long time. And if you have a big down year, what does that matter anymore? If you have money and you have inroads to recruiting, you can turn something around immediately. Calipari goes to Arkansas, all of a sudden they're very good. Like you could go get the right thing and make it happen. That's what I wanted them to do. Nothing against Buzz. It's like, I just don't believe he's going to be here long term. I felt it was just kind of a flip move to try to get somebody in here really fast because they were like, they had been embarrassed by this last guy. They wanted to get a guy with a name. And I felt like long term, I'm hoping I'm wrong about that. Long term, it was the wrong thing to do. Short term, I'm hoping it's going to end up being the right thing to do. This year is a total wash for them because they got caught up in the whole, it's too late to get people to come in here, and they did the best they could. And so they're going to have a very up and down bumpy season, but let's see it on the other side. This is why I was like, you know what? Slow down. Don't go fast here. Like, sucks that this happened. Eat it for a year, but get the right person who's going to be here for a long time. And they chose not to go that way.
Yeah, I mean, are you surprised that Maryland athletics is like this at this point? I mean, they've been pretty consistent with the way they've acted in the last 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's nothing against Buzz. He's a very good coach. Like that's not it. It's just like, okay, like this guy came here, turncoated you, like, you know what, go get the right person who's going to be here for a long time and try to set that standard. And, maybe Buzz will be, like, I don't know, maybe this is the destination he wants to be. His history says he's going to bounce in 3 to 4 years. And I just don't think is good long-term. Maybe it's fine short-term. Maybe they're competitive. I don't know, but that's why I wanted them to wait. So whatever.
Is Buzz here? Is Buzz still here when Loxley is gone, or vice versa?
Yes, because Maryland football in 2026 is going to have its typical 4-8, 5-7, whatever year. And at that point, I think that like the new AD is going to have to be like, I don't know, man, what's the spell? Like, I think he's just at some point, he's just going to look at everybody and go, what spell are we under here?
As you know, I love Mike Loxley.
Yeah,
I'll go. I have 2 honorable mentions here that you haven't mentioned. First off is the Nats changing of the guard. I think we have to acknowledge that from, not including ownership, but basically top to bottom, the Nationals decided enough was enough. I mean, I don't know. It's probably too little, too late, but, a rebuild is going to happen after the rebuild, essentially. But, I think it culminated with Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez both getting fired. And it started, with Davey getting fired and then Rizzo getting fired. And with both of those guys, going, it finally culminated a change in the organization. And we waited for a long time to figure out what direction they were going to go. And then all of a sudden it was, we're hiring all the millennials. We're hiring 30-year-old managers and 35-year-old GMs or whatever their ages are. And everybody
deserve a lot of credit for that, for as much heat as they've deserved for what the post World Series has been. They deserve a lot of credit for going, you know what? We need a total abject systemic change here, and we're going to bring it in. Now, whether it works or not, who knows? But I do credit them for doing it. And it is always easier for us on the outside watching this and going, this is a slow-moving train wreck. You need to end this. But on the inside, and having worked for an organization, you don't want to be perceived as dysfunctional, flippant. You're willing to just fire people. You know how that looks too. So they hung on to Rizzo and his plan too long. We all saw that. But I understand from their point of view of having worked with this guy for 20 years or whatever it was, that they weren't going to do anything fast, even if it became so abundantly clear to all of us. You guys are not in a modern space right now. You need to change your ways entirely. And I'm with you. I will give them credit. It may be a year or two too late, but they did do it, and they radically did it. So I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, and I still think too, we're not even kind of done with the moves. Like Mackenzie Gore didn't get traded, and I could still see him getting moved. I could see other, pieces getting moved here. And, I think it's difficult for them because you have to look at it from their point of view as well. Of Rizzo was able to fix everything for about 10 years there in this organization. And then you have to come to terms with, he not only didn't fix what, the post-World Series looked like, they have to probably tear it back down again, minus a couple of players. And that is a difficult thing, to come to terms with. And they did go ahead and do that. So,
yeah, I mean, it was Rizzo's gut versus large scouting staffs and AI. And that's what he was losing to. And, so if you look at it that way, he had no chance. He's the chess player playing Deep Blue. He's not winning. However, he should have also realized I need a lot more help than I have here, and never seemed to want to get into that world. It was more like, here's my ring, like at me about how I'm a winner. He's the Indiana coach of baseball GMs, where he's like, Google me, except that when you Google baseball success, it says everybody else but him and no humans involved.
Yeah, I think Rizzo lost his own plot at some point. He Pepe Silvia'd himself into his office and couldn't actually get out of his own way a little bit. And when Rizzo, you corner him, he turns into an animal and shows you the ring and says, I'm a success and all that. And you're like, dude, we're just telling you that this isn't working. And that's who he is, and he's always going to be a legend here. But at the same time, it fell apart, and I'm glad that the learners did acknowledge it. It just seems like they finally picked a direction, is what I landed on, when this was all kind of done and the dust was settled, because you and I would just look at the lineup going into seasons and going, well, that's not going to work this year.
Way.
Like you could see it on the surface. Even when they had good prospects, you couldn't see, where the road to success was going to be. Now they've at least picked a direction, because, it's very rare the Nats also are involved in the, Ken Rosenthal athletic piece. But then we hear that, husbands of owners are in these interview processes because they can't pick a direction where to go. They're very rarely in those types of talks, and I'm glad they got embarrassed to kind of hit the reset button, and maybe they'll get some winning baseball here. So that's one of my honorable mentions there for the year, that the Nats finally hit the reset button and are picking a direction. And then another Commanders one for you that I'll just throw on here for one of my best moments of 2025. They got the old uniforms back. It was a very simple ask that we asked for. They got the old uniforms back. All the rumors point to those are going to be full-time as soon as next year, from what I've seen from people that follow that type of stuff in the industry.
No comment.
Which, I'm not asking you to comment, but from what I have seen, from what my sources tell me and what my sources have seen, the Commanders are one of those teams that have applied to have those as full-time. So the fact that they very simply were acknowledging, last ownership group got it wrong, we'll give you the old uniforms back. That was a nice little win for the fan base on that. Yes. And they look good, by the way. They look really good when they play in them. Yeah.
All right, let me just say this one thing to you about it, because I just want your take on it. Okay. Sure. They look great. Are you still bothered by the helmet with those jerseys?
Bothered isn't the wrong word. Something does look off about them without the old logo. But I will say the helmet stripe, down the middle does help immensely on that. If I had to make one comment about it.
That was the nitpicky part. Every person was like, thank God I love these things. And then they're like, but it doesn't look right because it's incomplete. And I'm like, you're not getting the other part back. So this is the best we can do.
What I would say to this, and I think you would agree with me on this, is that I did love the Washington football helmets with the numbers on the side. I think they look I think they look very old school. They look like Alabama. That's what Alabama does on their helmets, but they look very old school without kind of it being new. And I would say to them, think about switching to that, and maybe even switching to what the uniform numbers look like. Because if you remember those helmets, they were just a yellow number. You could do the white number with the yellow outline that looks like the actual jersey number. And I think that would actually be a hit, especially if you made it an alternate. They don't have to wear it every single week, but if you made that an alternate, you kind of combined the old Redskins helmet with the Washington football team helmet. I'd be down with that. I'm okay with the W. I don't love it, but I think I would go to the number aesthetic just to make it look a little bit more.
I like the number too. I don't think anything's changing, but I think I like the numbers as well. I like the numbers. Maybe I don't know. Could you dabble around and add some feathers to that? I don't know. There's, no. I don't know. Just get, I shouldn't even have said that. That is not even happening. Don't aggregate me and put something up like that. I said before, no comment. I have no comment about any of it. No comment. I take it all back. No comment about any of it.
One thing that I would say too, if you don't want to do the numbers, is what I've loved about this team, especially on the black jersey, which I think, in my opinion, is going away in the next year or two. I don't know if it'll be as soon as next year, but I do think that one's going away. But what I love about the black jersey is it has the burgundy and gold DC flag on one of the sleeves. I think you could put that on the helmet, and that would look really clean. I think that would be a really good look. Or even if you don't want to put the actual flag, you put the DC stars and bars on there. I'd be down with that as well. The W just looks okay. I think they could do better. That's where I'm landing on it.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll do some national stories next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Hey, Commanders fans, want to make every drive a winning one? With the AAA Commanders MVP membership, you'll get trusted AAA roadside assistance, score Commanders gear with 15% off at the online pro shop, ticket giveaways, and exclusive team experiences. Whether it's game day or a weekend getaway, AAA keeps Commanders fans covered at home or on the road. Upgrade your current membership or join the team today at AAA.com/Commanders and drive like an MVP every day. All right, welcome back. Let's get to some of the big stories of 2025 that are outside of our area. And I'll start with this one, which was one of the worst trades of all time when Luka Doncic gets traded to the Lakers from Dallas. It started off the hive of conspiracy theorists of, well, they did this because they're helping the Lakers out, number one, and two, the NBA's make good is to give them the number one pick, which, oops, happened all of a sudden. And which, I can't believe these things because I'd like to think they're not true, but there was a little too much on the bone for the tinfoil hat people to have on that one. But more importantly, it is one of the most lopsided, absurd, ridiculous trades of all time. And I still cannot believe for the life of me that the ownership of that group let the GM do it. Can't believe it.
Not only that, you're a year late, not even a year later, and they're already discussing trading, AD and not blowing the team up, but like trying to get more pieces around Flag. It tells you how bad that trade actually was. And the conspiracy theorist, I'll give you this one. I think you're right. I think this one was forced upon, and I'm with you on this one. You're not crazy. There's no other explanation other than that the league wanted to force Luka there to force the Lakers' success. I'm 100% with you on this one. I'll take a seat next to you for this conspiracy theory.
So I don't believe that. I don't.
Yeah, I know. I do.
Clear. I don't believe the conspiracy theories. I think if the part I don't understand about it, and still don't understand about it, was if you were going to trade him, why didn't you just let the line go out the door to get the best offers you could possibly get? That's the part I still to this day do not understand, because what they got in return makes no sense if this was an open market. Hey, we're trading him and we're just looking for the best offer out there. I think they would have been shocked. It would have been put in front of them, but they didn't do that. And so that's the part of it that I don't love and don't understand at all.
That's why they're right, because in the modern NBA, it's usually the player forcing their way to somewhere. Why do you think, why do you think the Giannis chatter hasn't picked up? Because he only wants to play for the Knicks. So nobody's touching that with the 10-foot pole right now. They had a superstar that didn't force his way out, that didn't say he only wanted to go to a certain amount of teams. And they decided to just go, yeah, we're going to trade with the Lakers in secret. That's red flags, man. Red flags all over the place on that one. It's not right.
The other trade of the year, of course, is Micah Parsons goes to Green Bay. Jerry and him had the weirdest year ever. They were back and forth in the media. You got to understand, Jerry likes it that way. He likes the show. You can't take it too personally. It's all for the brand. And a soap opera is what he enjoys. So don't take that personally. It did seem to get personal. Then it got weird where Micah says he wouldn't let his agent talk to him. Jerry wouldn't talk to the agent. Then it was like the deal was written on my hand or something, or like on a bar napkin. And Micah's like, I didn't agree to anything yet. And he's like, yeah, you did, son. And he's like, this ain't 1853, pal. And so then all of a sudden it got really weird. And then trading camp got weird. And then he did the thing where he was just hanging out on the trading table, and then they traded him. And it looked like, to me, earth-shattering deal for Green Bay, the way they came out to start the season, like they were just gangbusters, especially on defense. Unfortunately, he got hurt. For Dallas, predictably, they had no pass rush, and their defense stunk for the first half of the year. Then they turned around and made a bunch of trades to try to, quote, make up for it, really. And their defense got better, but not enough to be good enough to be competitive, and they'd already dug too much of a hole. And Dak Prescott would be up for the MVP this year if it wasn't for how woefully awful their defense was. Now we've got Jerry at the end of the year wondering and saying things out loud like, maybe my role is holding us back just a little bit. Only that we know for a fact it's not like he's going to take a step back. He is going to be in charge, and he's going to make all these decisions, and he likes to make all these decisions, and he ain't hiding from it. The second he made this trade, he went on set with people and was talking about it. So that was That was as Jerry gets, that whole thing.
I think the most ridiculous part about that trade truly was the timing of it, though. Training camp was over. Preseason was over with. And then that trade happened. And for it to happen right before the first game of the season, because remember, wasn't it a week before their game? Because they were playing in Philadelphia. I think it was literally, it was less than a week, I think, actually, before they actually played. So it was like 5 or 6 days before they actually
right
played.
Before the opener.
Yeah.
They let him go, and then in the same opener, that's where Jalen Carter spit at Dak Prescott, and all the tweets were, anybody who had Micah Parsons and Jalen Carter not playing in this game, raise your hand.
Right. No, exactly right. So the timing of it was insane because you really kind of thought too, they'll figure something out. And like Jerry had history with that, with holdouts that had gone into the season and they had gotten it done. And honestly too, I think like we're talking all about the Cowboys here. I think it's just as shocking that it was Green Bay that did it, because Green Bay never makes that trade, never gives up the draft picks for the superstar, and they went for it. You've had your criticisms over the year that Green Bay never really, quote unquote,
they never really go
it.
for it. They really went for it on the trade part. Like, I could have a long conversation about how on the field I see them being way too conservative, especially in a division with Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell. Guess what, boys? You're going to have to start rolling the dice a lot more than you do, because those guys are not scared.
Yeah, I mean, on top of all that, though, then not only did they trade for Micah, they handed him the contract, too. That contract was ridiculous as well. So for Green Bay to actually kind of buck their own trend to go and get a guy like Micah, who does his own podcast, is that type of player, I thought that was a good move on Green Bay. Did it work out for them? I guess it's kind of incomplete because he ends up getting... Yeah, because he gets hurt, and you got to hope that he comes back. But we did see at times he would take over games. That's what Micah does. So, yeah, I would agree with you. That was one of the more shocking ones, and the timing of that one, too.
The other one in football that was crazy was Shador at the draft. So, like, God, we had a quarterback. So I'm not looking at him the way I would look at other quarterbacks. If this was the year before, I would have had to look at him. I also think if it was the year before, he would have been the 7th, 8th, or 9th quarterback taken off the board, and we wouldn't have had this conversation, because there's no chance on earth that the Bears, Commanders, or Patriots would have done anything different with the top 3 picks, maybe in a different order, but it would not have included Shador going above them. I still think McCarthy would have gone above him. I still think Penix would have gone above him, and I still think Nix would have gone above him, but I'm not totally sure. And there might have been some weird pressure in Colorado for them to pick Shador there, so maybe that would have been a little bit different. But that all said, he came out in a year where it wasn't like that. And I think I said this yesterday, I'm like, of all the quarterbacks, I didn't really buy any of them right off the bat being really good. But if I was going to pick a couple to take a shot on, Cam Ward would be one and Jackson Dart would be the other. The rest of them, I don't really see it. I just don't see it, including Shador. I didn't really see it. I never thought he was a first-round pick. I think a lot of the people never thought he was a first-round pick. Why he fell to the 5th round, though, that frankly is on him. Okay. And like in the end, and if anybody wants to be honest about it, if he's telling teams, which he did privately and semi-publicly, don't pick me because I want to go play somewhere where I can play immediately. Well, guess what? You have now limited the amount of teams that might take you. The teams that already have an established quarterback are clearly not going to take you because they don't need a circus coming in with their backup or third string quarterback. So he limited the pool to a select few teams. Why Cleveland took Dylan Gabriel, then him, I'll never, ever, ever understand. Why would you ever take 2, likely not the starting quarterback for all time? Like, they're just like buying lottery tickets now, right? That's all they're doing, hoping one of them ends up being it and just throw away the other draft pick. They're like, 2's better than 1. I got a better, like, it, like I got, if it was 1 in a million, now it's 2 in a million. Like, that's what they're thinking is here. Like, I don't really totally get that. But like, the truth was always somewhere in the middle. Like, Mel lost his cookies. Everybody lost their cookies. Of course, race took over here. Well, he was picked here. Meantime, the top quarterback in the draft was black, as it was the year before, as it was with Kyler Murray. Like, that ain't it, guys. Like, he brings a circus with him everywhere he goes. He was clearly telling teams privately, there are certain places I do not want to go, largely because I'm not going to replace Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or whoever it is. I want to go somewhere where I can play. Then there were others that already had quarterbacks, didn't want them. Fifth round felt low, but like first round felt way too high. It was always somewhere in the middle.
I think it was a stark reminder that, when the owners want their way, they can blackball anybody that they want. And that's
I don't think they blackballed him. I don't think they did. I really don't believe that. I think this was of his own making and his talent level all converging in one spot under the guise of he's got a huge name and played pretty well at Colorado. That's all I think it was.
But you can't tell me he would have gotten drafted higher if he hadn't rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. Like that's how I kind of feel like it's both factors. Right. Like he caused it. I'm not saying that
his talent was never good enough to get by what he did privately to these teams. That's all it is. Like if he was Caleb Williams, who a lot of people were rubbed the wrong way and didn't love him and everything, but his talent is so overwhelming, he got picked number one anyway. If Shedeur had that level of talent, he would have gone in the first round and people would have overlooked it might be a tough relationship with him.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit of both here where the NFL was reminding him, yeah, you're talented enough. You probably could have gone 2 rounds higher if you hadn't done all of this BS and picked where you're going. And you're going to now go in the 5th round. And guess what? You have the most expectations of a 5th rounder ever at this point because of your name and what you've done. So have fun dealing with that. And you're dealing with a 3rd round pick quarterback. On your point too, of just the Browns, I didn't hate the strategy of just take 2 quarterbacks. Like, I think more teams need to be doing this actually, where if you have the luxury of taking multiple quarterbacks, just do it. Like, try to figure out.
But you can't commit to either one. Like, there's only one guy gets the reps. That's the problem here.
Yeah, but one guy's going to show you whether he belongs or not. And Dylan Gabriel has shown that he didn't really belong. Shedeur has shown more than he has. So look, either way, they're mid-round picks. You're not going to play them the entire season anyways. I'm not saying pick 2 quarterbacks in the first round. I am saying if you want to try to find one in the mid rounds, I don't mind picking 2 of them.
But I mean, there is part of me that goes either their 3rd round pick or their 5th round pick was a waste. Sure. And you know it.
Yeah, but
and potentially both.
Yeah, but if they figure out the most important position in the sport, who cares? That's the counterpoint. True. I mean,
yeah. All right, let's see. Game of the year for me was Game 7 World Series. I can't believe I've said this about a baseball game, but it was incredible. It had literally everything. It had a bazillion comebacks. It had comeback stories in the comebacks. It was absolutely one of the most fantastic games I've ever seen in my life. It was incredible.
Not only that, it had all the superstars that you need, mainly because of the Dodgers, because they sign everybody that is anybody at this point, continue to still do that. And you had the Blue Jays, who also dabbled in free agency and had all the star power that they had. It was happening in Toronto too, by the way. I thought that was a nice little factor there as well, that they were, the home team for Game 7. I'm with you on that. And that one too, it's very rare that baseball kind of transcends Twitter and everyone watching, but that game went on deep into midnight that night too, and everybody was watching it. I would agree with you on that front. It had everything. And as much as people love or hate the Dodgers, the fact that they are in championships with the superstars that they have, it is good for the game, whether you like them or you hate them.
A few honorable mentions of things that I really liked from this year. The Pacers' run to the finals was pretty amazing. They, like us, kept coming back late, winning. No one expected them to do it. They got there, and then unfortunately, I hate when this happens, their best player got hurt at the beginning of the series, and so they were kind of non-competitive from there. I'm not sure they would have beaten OKC anyway, but still, that kind of sucks, took the air out of it. The other thing that happened early, which was bonkers, was the USA-Canada 4 Nations thing. And part of it was politically motivated because that was at the time when the United States was, and this feels like 10 years ago, but happened earlier this year, when the administration was actively talking about annexing Canada. Okay. Actively talking about that at the time. It feels like a joke now 10 months later because no one's even bringing it up. It was like somebody said something crazy to somebody and they I'm going to kill you tomorrow. And then it never happened. And then we act like it never happened. 10 months later, that's a serious threat that was made that supercharged politically what ended up being a pretty incredible exhibition tournament.
No, I mean, in the NHL, they've had this happen a few times over the last 10 years where they kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and they did with this tournament. And not only that, it factored into them returning to the Olympics, which, by the way, those first roster announcements are coming tomorrow. And it's the first time that NHL players will be allowed in the Olympics in a long, long time. And that's part of it because they saw how many people were paying attention to their players again in a tournament that didn't involve, their own crests on it. It was a massive win for the NHL, and that just doesn't happen that much these days for them.
Bill Belichick's girlfriend and his flop at UNC are an incredible moment of 2025. And less that he lost a lot of games, it was the relationship that was literally the whole thing. And none of us can wrap our head around it. It had so many twists and turns, including bizarre interviews with CBS News, a lot of questions about whether she's been kicked off campus or not, how they are so close with one another. The whole thing is strange. And it really made 2020. That was the 2025 love story that everybody couldn't get enough of. Like 2024 was Travis and Taylor. 2025 was Bill and Jordan.
This is going to lead me into what I was going to mention if you didn't mention it. Because of the Jordan Hudson situation, Pablo Torre is my journalist of the year. Okay, good. I'm glad you've got that, because I remember you and I will talk, but I remember when I saw the initial Pablo Torre finds out about Jordan Hudson, and I sent it to you going, you've got to listen to this because it's the most ridiculous set of journalism I've heard in a long time, that started with the Bill Belichick shirtless on a ring camera video that everyone kind of just shuffled away of like, why does that exist? And it just went down this pathway of a 20-something-year-old has her claws in the greatest NFL coach of all time, now turned UNC head coach. Pablo Torre, bravo. Take a bow, sir. This has been your year of crazy sports stories, because that's the best one. That might be my favorite one, but it might not be the best one, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I wanted to mention Pablo Torre too, more than anything, because you know how much I care about the media. It was really nice to see investigative journalism, even if some of it was kind of pop culture-y and silly, but some of it was not in some of the things he did, that people valued that again. Long form, well-sourced investigative journalism, even if it's presented in a way that you're not accustomed to, which is the way that he's going about doing it. I was just glad that was valued this year. And he's done a great job with a number of these big stories that were out there.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I'll throw in there, because you haven't mentioned, is the Kawhi story with the Clippers. You and I talked about Kawhi and his uncle or whatever, where they were making these crazy demands, and you and I were kind of like, they had to have done some of those, right? Because if they didn't give him the private helicopter to practice, what did they give him? And instead, we do find out that he signed on with some company that plants trees, that he never did an appearance, but was making $35 million. Like, it was so ridiculous that like we even saw what was happening, but Pablo found out like what the deal was, and that company doesn't exist. And because of that, he gets the documents. Ridiculous year in terms of journalism for Pablo. Bravo, sir.
Yes. Quick break. We'll do some hopes for 2026 next. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Commanders fans, your fandom just got an upgrade. Introducing the AAA Commanders MVP membership, where real fans get real perks and the same trusted AAA membership benefits. The new AAA Commanders membership provides the chance to win game tickets, access to VIP events and experiences, 15% off at the Commanders online pro shop, while providing peace of mind for Commanders fans on the road. Already a AAA member? Don't sit on the sideline. Upgrade your membership or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. All right, welcome back. Let's do hopes for 2026. All right. We already kind of touched on this earlier, but I do hope that the Nats not only get modern, but make shrewd moves along the way here early as they start their rebuild. This is hopeful, what they did by kind of changing the whole trajectory of the organization, going way younger, getting more analytically based. And I'm hoping to see some of the good, shrewd moves that give you belief that, like, you know what, they're going to be on the right track. My expectations for the season will be very low, but if they start to make a couple of those moves where you go, all right, they're going in the right direction, that'll be a good sign.
Yeah, I just want to see them making moves going into the right direction as well. You know, when Mike Rizzo, one of his things that I did always love that he did was when they were bad, he would make trades to make the team better. And it just didn't even kind of come to fruition the last couple of, seasons where he would sign somebody specifically just to trade them. That wasn't happening. I believe with this new ownership group, they've already made a couple of trades, during the winter meetings. Mackenzie Gore's probably going to get traded at some point. So I'm with you. Hope they make some moves. Hope they kind of hit the reset button again. But there are also some pieces here that, should be okay.
Next fall is going to be weird. Can the Capitals find success post the Ovi era? I am assuming that he's retiring, at least from the NHL after this year, that this is it and it's his final year. And I'm going to enjoy the last half season and playoff run. Hopefully we'll get a playoff run with them this year, see how far it goes. And then we're going to wave goodbye to him and he's going to go to Russia and we're never going to see him again. So it's going to be weird. It's been 20 years, it's going to be weird. And I hope they find success in the post era next fall.
You're forgetting he's going to come back for the retirement of his number, the Ovi statue night, whatever night they retire Backstrom's number, whatever night they retire Carlson. Like he's got like 5 to 10 appearances just in the can. So I'll say that to you. You'll see him.
And then that'll be it, right? And
then
that'll be it. Yeah.
You got to remember too, he's going to open up the Ovechkin memorabilia museum. So he's definitely going to come back to promote that at some point too. And then, try to get people to fly to Russia, which I don't know what that's going to look like, but
do they have good chicken parm there? Because if they don't, he might come back. Who knows?
Maybe he has a restaurant in the museum and that's what they serve. I wouldn't be surprised.
Is Coca-Cola too American for them? Does he have to get it here? Like, what's the situation?
Right. So anyways, you'll see him. I'm with you. I think I've talked to you about this for years, being close to the organization that, I don't know if this organization really knows how to deal with that post number 8. They've got some good players, but I'll be very interested to see what it all looks like when he's not playing again, if he's not playing again after this year.
For the Commanders, the hope of hopes is this, and this is what we're all going to be wondering heading into next year. They weren't a one-hit wonder, right? Because, boy, what a different offseason we're about to have, where they came off of best season they had in a generation. The hope was they could either replicate it or at least be, okay, we're here and we're going to stay here for a while. We had the season we had. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. It's going to start with, is Cliff staying? What's the defensive coordinator situation? A very interesting, especially on the defensive side of the ball, offseason with free agency and the draft. Then we'll see what they do with the rest of it. And then this whole offseason, when last year was about expectations and crazy schedules and can you live up to all this and can they piece it together, find lightning in a bottle again? It's going to be, how are you going to bounce back? Do you have the team to bounce back? So this could be a very different year for them. And maybe with the pressure off and probably a few more 1:00 games this fall than last year, let's see what they got. I still believe in number 5. So because I believe in number 5, I have a feeling that I'm hoping that this level of a season is a one-off, but let's see if they can bring back some of that magic from 2024.
When people say have a happy and healthy new year,
yes.
This really is directed towards the Commanders. If they're healthy next year, I can live with just about any record they've got because I can at least pick a direction to go. I think that's the hardest part about the season that we're, about to wrap up here is there's a lot of incompletes. We talked for how many weeks of the offense. You can't judge X because Y is out, or you can't judge Z because X and Y are out. I think just if you go in healthy next year and you stay healthy, I can at least have a better discussion of what happened this year. But this year was a lot of incompletes and a lot of different areas where you don't really even know what they have because they were just so banged up in certain areas.
And the last thing is very personal to me. As we go into 2026, I just found out this information very recently and I didn't know about it. But now that I found out that my cousin does have a girlfriend from Dundalk, I really want to meet her in 2026. I have to meet my cousin's girlfriend from Dundalk.
No comment.
It was very quiet. This was a very quiet relationship. It was held under wraps that my cousin has a girlfriend from Dundalk, but I found out about it, and now I really want to meet her because, as you know, I have a soft spot for anything that has to do with Dundalk.
You definitely do. I'll go personally here for the. I just can't believe that's a Chiron. I can't believe you made that a Chiron to finish out the year. I'll I'll go personal here. I ran 2 marathons in 2025. I don't know if I'm ever going to do that again. It was really, really fun. I'm going to run another one coming up in the springtime this year, coming up in 2026. I'm figuring out what's next. So that's what I need to figure out in 2026 for myself, whether that's starting to run ultras like a crazy person, which is even more than a marathon or what. But for me personally, the next thing is on deck. I just don't know what it is yet.
All right. Yeah. And I'm excited for 2026. We'll see. Let's see what the year brings, people. Let's see what it brings. All right, everybody. As you can probably tell, is our last show of the year. So I look forward to speaking to you in 2026. Have a very happy, safe new year. Bray, watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.